Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jerred Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with Kyle Schrum and Joe Courtney. Gentlemen,
should we put a mask on?
Howdy there, Manilow.
I currently have COVID. Not really, but I am sick for the first time in a very long time, and we're recording it anyway because the show must go on.
Man, the crappy thing is if you go like to the grocery store anywhere in public sounding the way you are and coughing, you're just going to start it. Like people are just going to scatter from you, even though it's just a breathing thing.
Well, I'm not going to go in public.
I was going to say, I don't think he really has much to worry about there.
Yeah.
A, probably not going in public. B, probably doesn't talk to many people when he is in public.
You nailed it.
There you go.
But we were tested. It's actually not COVID. It's a different upper respiratory viral thing. And it's weird. This is like actually the first time I've been sick like in a very long time. Like normally my kids get sick and I'm like I might feel something for one day. If they get sick, I'm like, maybe my throat hurts. And then it goes away, So this is the first time in a very long time. So my record has now fallen. It's on one of you to keep it going for as long as possible.
Microchip has been compromised.
Yes. All right. What do we normally do after that? After the beginning? No, I'm kidding.
Update.
We'll get into the updates. Again, no Garage Gym Athlete shout outs right now, but we will get back to those in the next couple of weeks. But any athlete out there crushing things, I've seen a lot of things opening back up, people scheduling events, Spartans, ultra marathons, a lot of cool stuff coming. So if you're doing that, awesome. It looks like the world is opening up back to normal slowly but surely. And that excites me for future events because I want to get some of the Garage Gym athletes back together, maybe North Carolina, maybe in North Carolina or somewhere around North Carolina.
Just beat that drum because there's no other place that we could go.
Yeah, it's impossible. There are no other events anywhere. All right, Kyle, how's life?
Good. Finally finished painting cabinets. That's my update.
Let's just end it right there.
Things are kind of boring.
We should celebrate. Congratulations.
I know.
How many audiobooks did you read while going through your projects?
Honestly,
that's just
I think
the cabinet painting.
Yeah, I think I finished 5 books.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know how many weeks. All the days just kind of strung together there for a while. Just didn't really know what day it was. So
good books help.
Good books help, yeah. But I crushed a lot. It's a lot of reading. So, and summer break's coming up soon. So, when this publishes, I think Hannah and the kids will be on their last full week of school.
Dang.
I think so.
My kids are out on Friday, but they're not actually going to school either because they're sick. So maybe they're done. They might be done. I don't know.
I'll be done.
Newsflash.
Summer's already started. Dang it.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, Joe.
So I'll have a little bit more excitement.
Yay.
Talking specifically with the Murph burner because we will be talking about Murph later on today, but also the Murph burner has been going on and I have been going through it. So I just wanted to share some of my progression for some of the athletes doing it. So each week we do a 5 blocks or 50 minutes of zone 2 running. And then the day after that is Murph practice, which is a vested Cindy. So and it is still crazy hot here, but I think I'm acclimating a little bit to the heat, even though it's still not fun at all. I think my body's just starting to acclimate a little bit because I'm not suffering as much. I did the third week of the 50-minute run today as well. So between week 1, my pacing was at 10:08. Week 2, I dropped down to 9:53 per mile pace, that is. And then today was exactly the same 9:53, but the difference between week 2 and week 3 is that at week 2, I reached the point of zone 2 where my heart rate peaked out at 3.5 miles, and I had to start walking in order for it to drop down. Then it was just a run jog kind of thing, or jog walk kind of thing. Today, I was able to do all 50 minutes without any sort of walking period. So I paced it out so far. So it was the same exact pacing, but I paced it so that I was continuously running the entire time, even through the heat, which is kind of cool. And then Murph practice I'll do tomorrow for my third one. But from week 1 to 2, I added 35 reps. And what was the biggest shocker is that even though it was only 35 reps, which I felt like I could have gotten more, it was only like the cardio part that was slowing me down. But muscle fatigue, because of all the volume that we're doing, I was so much better week 2 compared. Like air squats were pretty much easy. Push-ups, I didn't really hit the fatigue part on the last time, or the first week. I was starting to go from 5 and 5 to like 4, 3 and 3. But this time 5 and 5 were fine. I didn't have to rest as long. It was just the cardio part, the conditioning, the breathing part that was kind of slowing me down. But muscle fatigue wise, so much better. Big difference between week 1 and 2, and makes me kind of scared for tomorrow, because that means I'm probably going to be doing more tomorrow, and it's just not going to be fun. But that's fine, because I'm still interested to see progress from that. And then I finally
So
made
you're getting more fit.
Yes, my
Okay. All that to
calisthenics
say.
and all that. Yes, basically.
No, all that to say, he's selling the Murph burner track is what he's
Absolutely.
doing. So
Yeah.
go to garagegymathlete.com/Murph and you can get that program that's making him such a badass. Even if it's at the end of May, you can still get the program, download the PDFs and be like, oh yeah, I want to go through this at a later time. And guess what? We're still going to donate your money to the Special Operations Warrior Foundation, and you'll get a program in the process. So it's really a win-win. If you're not doing it, you got a problem. So like, go do it.
And then lastly, I've been talking about this for a couple months now, but I finally actually made the bone broth video on how to make bone broth. It is loaded, ready to go. And actually, as of publishing this podcast, it will already be out on YouTube. So go to YouTube if you want to know how to make bone broth, because it's me showing you how to make it.
And next, the scramble.
That changes every single day. So
Well, let's just get some version of it recorded.
all right, I'll try. I'll see which version I actually want to do with it.
We're going to have a Joe in the Kitchen playlist on YouTube.
We totally should.
Cooking with Courtney.
Wow.
I like the alliteration. There it is.
That's it. That's it. He's obviously thought about this more than we have.
All right. And so I have not had a garage gym. This is my update. I've not had a garage gym all week. I had to empty out my entire garage gym. I've been talking about it. They finally spray foam insulated my garage gym yesterday, as of recording this yesterday, which is awesome. We'll see how it plays out when we get to, like, it's not hot in Texas, which is for mid to late May is odd. Like this is, I've even worn a hoodie in the last 7 days, which is strange. So we got some weird things going on in Texas. We had that freeze earlier in the year. We have floods right now, and it's not getting hot. I'm sure it'll get hot eventually. It always does. It's never failed me. Texas always gets hot. But anyway, that whole process was a lot of work. It was like moving again. And I didn't think about that when I agreed to the spray foam insulation going in. So yeah, I had to pull every single like rack. I have that foldable rack from Rogue. So like that had to be completely taken off the wall. Everything moved out. The only thing that stayed in there was the sauna pretty much. And some of the other, like the reverse hyper, I wasn't moving. I'm like, no, dude, I'm not moving that out. So we just put some plastic over it. But they got it all insulated, which is awesome. And now I'm going to be putting the garage gym back together. But I like Joe's Cooking with Courtney, do Moving with Moon, and I'll show you
There we go.
how I put garage gyms together. I don't know if that'll be helpful information, but it is a video that will come out in the next 1 to 2 months. All depends on when we throw it in the cycle. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got update wise. Other than I'm sick, who cares? Let's move on and get into the study. So the study is high protein plant-based diet versus a protein matched omnivorous diet to support resistance training adaptations. A comparison between habitual vegans and omnivores. And this was done in 2021. I was excited about this study because I've mentioned on the podcast quite a bit, I don't do well with dairy. The predominant supplementation choice of athletes and all fitness individuals in the world is typically whey protein, and for good reason. Like, I don't hate on whey. I wish I could take whey. Whey has basically everything you need. It's a great protein source, and has the right amount of leucine, all the amino acids, everything like that. So anyway, I have to take vegan proteins. I'm not vegan, but I'm a lot more vegan than I used to be because of not being able to consume dairy. So I'm basically a vegan. The only thing I mean, I eat meat, which sounds hilarious. Like, yeah, I'm a vegan who eats meat. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying, like, when you don't eat dairy, that removes so many things. And then if you ever go gluten-free too, if you guys have ever tried that, it cuts out a lot of your diet. So anyway, I was excited to get into this because I've always had this question in my brain ever since I switched a couple years ago, because it hasn't been that long. It's only been maybe max 2 years that I've been exclusively like dairy free. And I'm like, I got these vegan proteins, but are they really as good? And we've had these conversations about, leucine content. I went really off the deep end on that, trying to find out what actually makes a good protein supplement and all these other things. And this wasn't specifically about supplementation. It was more about just getting enough protein, I think, is the big part. They did supplement, and we'll talk about the pros and cons of their supplementation. But what was it? It was 19 individuals, right? 19 young men who are either habitual vegans or omnivores. They had some really pretty funny, like, strict criteria for which group you could be in. I'm sure you guys might hit on that. So they really just took these 19 individuals in each group, ran them through a 12-week program, and then, measured to see their leg lean, muscle mass, whole mass, and muscle fiber cross-sectional area, as well as leg press when at max were assessed before and after the intervention. So I think overall a pretty good study. And the normalized amount of protein was 1.6 grams per kilogram a day is what they were wanting people to hit. I'm a 185-pound male. So for me, that 1.6 would put me at like 134, 135 grams of protein per day. We normally recommend like 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight. So pretty similar. Like if I'm at the low end, that's about 145 or just over 145 grams of protein is my low end amount of protein. So also very on par with the amount of protein we recommend every single day. So what'd you guys think?
Kyle, I think I'm going to let you go first this week.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, you do say that people stole your points a lot. So let's see what points you got.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody can steal them now.
This is why I don't go first, is so I can blame other people for stealing my points.
Oh, man, I had that idea. Damn, you took it.
That's it. So one thing to say is to be included in the study, they could not have participated in resistance training for at least a year prior. So we're looking at where it's another study with some inexperienced lifters, unlike the keto study that we covered a week or two ago, where it was professional bodybuilders. This one is more inexperienced lifters. They kept their regular diet, which I thought was good. They weren't forcing somebody who's normally on an omnivorous diet to switch to a vegan diet or vice versa. These guys were pretty much eating pretty much how they normally eat. And then just supplementing with whatever protein it was they needed to supplement with to stay in their specific diet count. So you had you had the vegan protein for the vegans and the whey protein for the carnivores or the omnivores. And one thing I'll say about the conclusion was that pretty much both diets saw the same results. The results were not statistically significant. So there wasn't a significant difference between the two. Both diets helped the lifters move in the right direction, and they made similar gains in strength. And so because they did a 12-week resistance training program, and so both diets help people gain strength, and they gain strength in pretty similar numbers. One thing that I'll say about which I think is good, because we have people in our community who eat in different ways, and we should, because as we talk about every time we talk about nutrition, it should be individualized. So I will say for the vegan diet, the vegans required more supplements. They required 58 grams of their supplement to get the same amount of protein versus 40 grams of supplement for the omnivorous group. So that's something to keep in mind when you're going that direction, is you're going to have to take more, which we've talked about before as well. You'll have to take more of your supplement from a vegan source or a plant-based source than you will from whey source or animal sources. And also something to keep in mind is plant-based sources come with more carbs. So that's going to be part of it as well, is keeping that in mind with your macros and with the way that your diet works out. Those are things to keep in mind. But I thought it was cool to see, especially it wasn't like, it wasn't an isolated, really short study, or it was a 12-week training program. And I like to see that. And we talk about that as well. We'd like to see a full cycle, what we call a full cycle of training, to see how things, work out, flesh out over a long period of time. So I like to see that basically, according to this study, whether you eat vegan or whether you eat animal-based or whatever it is, that you can make strength gains as long as you dial things in the way they need to be dialed in. So that's what I liked about the study. I'm not, going to be like a vegan hater or anything like that. It's not the way that I choose to eat. I don't have, issues like what Jerred has, where I'm having to make, switches like that. I might have to in the future. And if I do, it's good to know that I can still make similar gains if I have to make those kinds of switches. So, Joe.
So on the surface, I was definitely excited to cover this, especially because we just did the keto one. So kind of getting the opposite end of the spectrum. And yes, it did turn out that, looking at the metrics that they did, that everything was basically equal. Not one guy didn't get significantly stronger or more gains in general. Although, the issues with inexperience, because the non-resistance train athletes, and doing a 1 rep max on a leg press, not really a fan of. But structure wise, it's fine. I think it still conveyed the point that you wanted to know, and that is, can a vegan diet sustain the same amount of hypertrophy and muscle gains as omnivore's diet? And yes, on the surface, I will say yes, but I think it comes with a big asterisk, and that is, I think on vegan diets, you need to have pay a lot more attention to what you're eating. There's a lot more processed and produced food in order to being a vegan. And what I mean by that is, like what Jerred said, with the protein and amino acids, it's a lot easier and naturally to get amino acids from meat and omnivorous diet, versus vegan. You have to go looking to make sure all of those things are included, to make sure the sources are well. They used soy protein in this, which I don't like. We avoid soy in everything that we eat. Soy is not very good, and it's usually not treated and produced very well, and it can have hormonal and side effects like that. That's one of Ashley's points that she made. I'm just kind of stealing some of hers. So there's a lot of asterisks with vegan diet. And so yes, all things equalized are fine, but you have to have a lot more commitment and pay a lot more attention with vegan diets than with omnivorous diets. And that's why, like, I think personally for me, setting moral and ethical problems to the side, if you're just looking nutritionally, for most people, I think omnivores type diets, or even lacto-ovo vegetarians are far superior than you would get for vegans. And the point of anybody saying that like vegans are superior and you can do, and yes, you technically can get the same benefits from it, but you're going to use a lot more work. And honestly, it's a lot harder. It's even hard to get people to eat clean, regular diets of just vegetables and meat versus you need to eat all this other vegan things clean and make sure you're getting your amino acid, your vitamin D, your calcium, and all these things. So it's much more complex than just this diet equals this, because not all diets are, there is no superior diet, honestly. And I think we can stick a fork in that. I'm making a Kyle joke here. And another thing with the going back to the macros versus vegan source, because a lot of people are keto versus vegan, because those are compared a lot with people and those words are thrown out. And something that I just want to say is that those are two different, or diets that are based on two different fundamentals or premises. And that's what I mean by that is keto is all about controlling and restricting one of your macros, and it's all macro based. Vegan is all about the source of where it's coming from and controlling what your nutrition is coming from. So going from macro minded one to a source minded one are completely different to compare and should be treated differently in general. So that's one thing that I wanted to get across as well. And also why throwing out these diet names isn't the way to go, and people, and just doing that kind of diet hype train. But study wise, yeah, it was interesting. And I think what I remember, we did a study a long time ago about protein content, and I don't know which one it was or what the exact numbers were, but I thought we read that you have to actually consume more plant protein than animal protein, like grams per body weight, because your body only absorbs like 80% of what you're ingesting with plant protein, or is it something along that lines? If I don't know if anybody remembers, or
It
correct me
depends
if
on
I'm
what
wrong.
you're actually eating. Like supplementation, that's not necessarily true. Like in Kyle's example, they had to have more soy protein than they did whey protein. That's just a gram per gram of
Mm,
the supplement they chose. If you chose a different supplement, it could be 100% equal in the amount of protein. But when you're actually talking about getting your protein from a plant, yeah, there's like, it's a lot harder to eat that much. And then, yeah, your body can't even handle it all. So you have to eat, I think it is 15% more by most vegan estimates to get the same amount of protein.
yeah, that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, obviously you can still do a vegan diet or plant-based diet and get the same amount of benefits and gains from your workouts. You just have to look more deeper into things. And we also have plant protein as well. We're fine with whey still, but we do plant protein. But and most of those are pea protein, and even I've seen some pumpkin seed ones that are really good. So doing research in that is something that's going to be important if you want to do a vegan lifestyle. That you just got to know that you need to get some research, but you can still equate the same benefits. Jerred, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys hit on a lot of it. I think ultimately, I think this is good because you mentioned that study about 15% more, the one we covered where you need 15% more protein on a vegan diet. But I don't know if a study like this overturns a study like that, because what they did here was equate for just protein per kilogram or per pound, however you want to look at it, and they got results. They had very similar results. So I think that's really promising for vegans. And I do think if you are vegan, you're most likely vegan for ethical reasons. I don't know if you think if it's not for ethical reasons and you're just going in as like, I think this is the more optimal way to be a human being, like for performance, it's probably not. Um, like you could just eat a crap ton of fruits and vegetables with a little bit of meat and be fine. Like I would rather eat a piece of meat than take a bunch of supplements, And
Mm-hmm.
so Emily
Free
and I
eggs.
went, Emily and I went vegan, and we've talked about this, but it's been a while, for a few weeks last year, the year before, just to test it out, just to see how closely we could stick to macros and everything. And it was incredibly challenging. And I had all the problems that you were talking about, Joe. Like I was hitting my macros. That wasn't necessarily the case. It wasn't like, oh crap, I can't get enough protein without having too much carbs. Like it is more challenging, but I was able to hit my macros perfectly. But the problem I didn't like was I had to supplement more than I normally would to get the amount of protein that I wanted. And I was eating really weird things like, fake burgers and like all these other kind of things to get the right macro breakdown. And so for me, at least, when I went vegan for that short time period, just for the experiment, my diet went from like not as processed to like ultra processed. Like I just had a lot of processed type foods in my diet all of a sudden. And that was a big reason I didn't like it. And if you can get away with not doing that, then I think it's fine. But as far as this study is concerned, I like how it was broken down. I don't have a problem with the participants and how much they did or didn't train. I get why they do those things. It's just easier to like notice bigger changes when someone doesn't train. They seem to do that quite often in these studies. They want people who haven't worked out so they can really see the full benefit. But since both groups were of the same, I don't think that there's any problem with that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, the biggest thing I did have problem with was the soy-based protein that you mentioned, because it's always it's seen as a health food, but if you really do some research on soy, you'll see a lot of things. I don't like the science isn't necessarily like strong either way about soy being good or bad. I think that you could make an argument either way. You could look at some studies and be like, hey, this is great for you. It's anti-cancer, like it's good, all these other things. But then you could also pull a few studies and see that soy is probably bad. I don't like it because of the possible risks. That's where it comes down to me, is because like the hormonal thing you mentioned, like it's a leap there. It's like this has this compound which can do this to your estrogen levels in a male or female, or can cause thyroid problems because of this reason. It's never like a direct link. It's like soy has this, so it's this. And so there are some studies that say that it is bad. And but the risks for me are too great. Like if it could be good, that's great. But the risk, if it being bad is right, is not something I want to mess with. I don't want to mess with my hormones. I don't want to get increased estrogen levels. I don't want thyroid problems. And these are the things that could happen with soy. So that's why I stay away from it completely, because the risk is not something I want to play around with.
Yeah, the biggest issue I think a lot with soy is how it's prepared. And traditionally, it used to be prepared. You have to ferment it, and that's the best way to do it because it changes the proteins in soy. But we just do all the shortcuts now and trying to preserve. So people just shell out soy and think all soy is the same, but it's not. It has to be processed a certain way, just like so many other things.
Yeah, and I think I wish they would have selected something different too, because we've talked about some of the supplements. There's so many great supplements coming on the market with pea protein, watermelon seed, pumpkin seed, and all these variations that are able to hit the right amino acid profile with these combinations. And I don't, and that's a good thing, because several years ago, the only thing you could do if you were vegan and an athlete was to supplement with soy protein or eat it or whatever. Like that was how you got your protein, soy burgers and all that.
I have an off the wall question as far as protein source.
Go for it.
Can vegans eat crickets? Because there's cricket protein.
I don't think so.
Are crickets animals?
I mean, vegans don't consume honey, right? Like it's because it's from a bee.
I guess if you're really diehard, then yeah.
I think that's the
only way to go.
I think vegan.
I think
like,
diehard is the only thing there is.
Yeah, I think vegan like asterisk equals diehard. Because you can't, literally can't say I'm a vegan who eats eggs. You know what I mean? You can't do that. You're something else at that point. You know what I mean?
Hobo.
Yeah. So once you slap that vegan label on, you're officially hardcore. It's like carnivore. Like there are no well, I'm carnivore, but I eat like sweet potatoes. You're not carnivore. I've never seen a lion go grab some sweet potatoes from the field and start munching on them.
You know what would go great with this gazelle? Sweet potatoes.
I did not. I saw lions. They were not eating vegetables.
Yeah.
No.
and yet they still live 7 to 8 years. So I don't know the lifespan of a lion. Anyway, overall, I think it was good. Takeaway for the Garage Gym athlete: if you need to supplement with vegan source protein, like I am, you're probably fine. And also for all the vegan athletes out there, you can absolutely do this. You just got to find your own way to do it. And all for the probably majority of our listeners who are omnivorous, just keep doing what you're doing, but do focus on that protein amount. That's probably the most important thing. I harp on it a lot with athletes. Like, make sure you're getting enough protein. If I don't pay attention to my protein or I'm not thinking about it, I don't get a lot of protein in my day. Like, I could very easily end with 80 grams of protein for the day if I had no supplement and like wasn't trying to eat protein. And so, and that's just me. And I know everyone can be different, obviously, but it's hard for me to get protein if I'm not consciously thinking about it. So I'm always thinking about how to get protein. We normally do that protein and water challenge, and those are the things I try to focus on every day: protein and water. Because when I'm doing those two things, I feel the best. All right. Anything else?
Right. Don't think so.
All right. Let's move from the study to Murph. And the workout is Murph. So I guess we're just going to be talking about Murph for a little while. We can talk about whatever you want. Go ahead, Joe.
What is, if you guys have an early on, let's go back in time, an early on Murph memory, whether it was your first one or one of the first ones, early ones on you do introductory to the workout. And I'll just go first. What do you guys think?
Wait, let's talk. Let's say what Murph is first. We always do this just in case.
Oh, dang it. Yeah.
Just in case. So Murph, it's a hero workout. It was created by CrossFit in memory of Michael P. Murphy, who was killed in action in Afghanistan in 2005. The workout is run 1 mile, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, run 1 mile, wear a 20-pound vest if you have it. I think it's 14-pound vest for females, and partition the reps as needed. If you were to, the people who invented the workout, CrossFit, they say that you can partition the reps. And so you can partition the reps as needed, just so we're all clear on that. And that's it. Now we can go. Let's go.
Okay, here we go. So first, or early on Murph experience or memory. So one of the ones that I have that's actually a fun story was when I was studying abroad in Australia, it was coming up and I wanted to do it and I'd been looking forward to it for a long time. But, you know, here in the States, all of the CrossFit gyms would do Murph, but in Australia, they weren't planning on doing it. It wasn't, and the thing was, it's not a holiday or anything. So I had to convince the gym owner and the head coach for like a couple of weeks. I had a petition to get it programmed. And he was like, well, maybe I'll just let you do it on your own. And then after a while, I started talking to other people and he changed the programming to do Murph on that day. So some people weren't fans of it, but I didn't really care. So that was I think that was my second time doing Murph because I did it in the States the year before and it went really well. And this is also how my post Murph burrito tradition got started because there was a mall nearby. And afterwards I knew there was a place there that had a giant, like 3-pound or so burrito. So we all went and got some afterwards. Now that's my thing.
Post Murph burritos.
Yes.
Pre-Murph chicken and waffles.
Yeah, that's
all right. Well, I'll tell the first time I did my Murph story. So I have a very long history with Murph. I know I did it every week for a year, a couple times, but that's not even close to where Murph starts for me. Murph started back in college. I did not even know it was called Murph at the time. I still don't know how I was told, like the person who told me about it, I don't know where they got it from. So anyway, this guy was a Marine, active duty Marine. He was visiting some people where I was at. Anyway, I won't get into the whole backstory. That he was visiting, he told me about this workout, and he just explained it as what the workout was. Not that it was. And to be honest, I don't know. Like Murph had been KIA for not very long, so I don't know if it had just been announced, and he told me about it, or he knew about it through the grapevine, through Navy Marine like association. Like I said, I have no idea how he got it, but he challenged me to do it. But he just explained it as with a vest on, run a mile, do the calisthenics, run a mile. And so I did that at Texas Tech University. They have like this perfect 1 mile loop with a pull-up bar, at the start. And so it was just like, yeah, let's do it. And I remember I didn't time myself either. I wasn't really big into like timing workouts back then. I just was like, I just did it and it kicked my ass. It absolutely kicked my ass. So that was the first time I did it. I didn't know I was doing Murph, but I did Murph pretty long time ago. And then more like into my military days when I was a physical training leader, I forced everyone to do Murph like all the damn time, and they hated me for it. So we just did a lot of Murph when I was in the military, because we had a very similar situation with a 1/4 mile track with a pull-up bar, a lot of pull-up bars at the end of it. So we could facilitate quite a few people doing Murph. And then if the groups got too big, that's where we did the EO3 5K. That's why that was invented. Because if I was had to lead like 100 people in a workout, I'd be like, okay, we're doing them. It was called the Confused 5K at that time. So we're doing the Confused 5K today. If it was like 30 people, we'd be doing Murph. So a lot of the workout in my history over the years.
Well, I don't remember the first time I did Murph, but I'll just make an assumption that it didn't go very well for me. I know at the time I'm pretty sure I probably spent most of the time trying to finish my first mile. That's probably how it went. Just because at the time that I knew about Murph and would have been trying it the first time, I was not as good at running as I am now, which I'm still not a pro at running, but running a mile is no longer an issue for me like it used to be. And so don't even know how I would have accomplished pull-ups. Probably just would not have actually finished the workout the first time I did it.
So this is all theoretical.
Theoretical, because I don't remember. I don't remember the first time I did it, but I remember what my fitness was like at the time that I would have been trying Murph the first time. And probably,
so did you try it and you just don't remember, or you're talking about had you tried Murph when you first started working out, this is what it would be like?
Yeah, that, I guess.
Okay.
I don't remember. I don't remember the first time I did Murph.
You have done
I didn't
it though,
notice.
right? Yeah.
I have done the workout
Okay,
before.
great.
I guess I don't remember.
You got to remember
first time
the first time
did.
doing Murph. You have to.
I don't. I guess I just pushed it out of my brain.
It's crazy.
Like, I suck at this. Not gonna keep this one around. I don't remember.
Yeah. I can't wait till I'm somewhere that I can like actually go full out and like not have I don't know, an asterisk on my Murph times a little bit, because like here it's gonna be like 90 some degrees. It's already mid 90s to close to 100. In San Diego where we lived at the bottom of a hill, so starting that mile after all the running, like absolutely horrible. I couldn't even run up my giant hill and that's the only way to go. So
there are no asterisks. That's just the workout. That just is what it is. You did Murph with me at my first Texas house.
Yep,
and
with the crew.
Yeah, there's some elevation, not significant, but there's some ups and downs enough to make you slower in a mile than you would be if you were on a track.
Yeah.
But no asterisks on the times. That's just. Yeah.
Oh, this was my time, but it was 100 degrees outside. So
yeah. Well, that does make you slower, but
yeah. But I'm just saying, no asterisk.
Yeah.
It is
like
what it is.
Like I don't trust true form Murph to the point where I kind of won't do it. I'm like, the mile time makes me too angry to like continue the workout. I've only done this once now, and that's very upsetting. I was like, how on earth did I just run an 8-minute mile in Murph? Like, that's not normal. And you're on a true form. Things are harder, slower. So is that everything? We break down some more Murph.
Yeah. What else we want to talk about for Murphs?
I want to talk about the times I've almost died.
Okay,
Um,
that's fun.
there's two. So speaking of heat, no, that would be the second time I almost died. The first time, I was physical training leader, and we were doing an optional Murph workout, which means I was not officially leading it. I just invited people to do Murph since I would be doing it. And I think we had about 15 people show up. And that was the first time I decided to do a double Murph. And it was both times I have been in heat. So it was Florida, and it was super hot, but also like 100% humidity without rain. And so I did a double Murph, vested, and I remember his name was Calloway. That's his last name. That's how everyone works in the military. He was like, "Sir, are you all right?" And I was like, "I think so." Because I was like halfway through my second Murph, and he was watching me on the calisthenics. And I guess when I was hopping off the pull-up bar, I was like stumbling a little bit. And he's like, "I don't know." He's like, "Maybe you should like stop or whatever." And I was like, "Well, you finished all of your like self-aid buddy care training, right?" And he's like he's like yeah. And I was like, "You're good then. Just don't feed me any liquids, you know, and call somebody to help me if I like pass out." And I do remember finishing, and I was super like lightheaded and did not feel right for a while. And so that one was bad. But the worst one was, I've mentioned this before. The first year I did Murph, it was never like, there was never like, "Oh, let's do a training Murph," or like, "Let's back off." The first time I did it, it was, you try as hard as you can every Saturday. That's what you do when you do Murph. There's good and bad that comes with that. And the bad was when it got officially really hot in Texas, and I was doing Murph literally worst time of the day. It's like 2, 3 p.m. That's like the hottest it gets. And also it can get very humid in Dallas. And I remember on my second mile run home, I mean, I was already miserable. I remember getting cold and getting chills. Like I was getting cold and getting chills, and it's like 100 something degrees, and it's just awful. And I basically collapsed. And in the backyard, after I finished that mile, I had to like crawl into our living living room, and Emily was like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "I think I got too hot." And I was like heat exhaustion, maybe close to heat stroke, and I had to cool off for a very long time. And again, wasn't right for a while. And so then I decided not to try as hard, but still hard, because now I know where that point is, to where you get heat exhaustion and feel like you're going to die. So if you ever feel cold when it's hot outside, that's a big alarm bell to like maybe slow down.
So with a
I mean,
double Murph, is that just doing it twice in a row, or is that doubling like you do 2 miles at first and then you double all the reps in between and then 2 miles at the end?
Yeah, so I've done both, but I did the workout twice. So
Okay.
you finish that last mile, and then you start on a second mile, and you just start over again.
oof. Yeah, I haven't had that many Murph experiences to have anything crazy like that. Who knows?
me neither.
Maybe
I
if
I
I do
didn't
it next
expect
week.
any further death stories, but they can happen.
So going back to something that Jerred said about partitioning the reps, like there's something about, that's one thing about Murph that I do like, is like there's so many different ways to scale it and partition the reps that you can do. I mean, obviously there are the purists out there who say you have to do it this way,
It's just
or
made up.
you didn't do it, and it's like, no, that's not how it is. So that's one thing that I think is good for everybody, is everyone can do some version of Murph. So whether it's, the full RX of, everything all in a row, and you're not partitioning the reps, and you have the 20-pound vest and all that kind of stuff, whether it's that or whether you've partitioned things out and scaled as needed, everybody can do. And we even made up our own version of it with the zone 2 Murph. And so you do the whole thing, not getting out of zone 2, your heart rate zone 2. So there's all different kinds of ways to do it. And I think that's one thing that's made it so universal as well. And why it's so popular is there's so many different ways to do it that pretty much everybody can find a way to partition it and scale it where they can complete it.
Yeah. One thing I said on a recent, on the AMA that we were recording, that I think everybody should try, especially if you're going, want to get as fast as you can, or just because we've talked about it in studies and stuff, that is try carb rinse when you go up and do it. I did it a couple months ago, because I wanted to do a Murph, and it made a big difference. Now, I also was fasted at the time, so that's probably also why, because I was just completely depleted. And in the past, I know I've gotten a little bit nauseous, but it was huge, and it really helped me bounce back. So I think that's something cool to try. And even now, I know I think every time I do Murph now, I'm gonna have to have something, because it's intense, especially if you're partitioning it right, and you've had some sort of calisthenic training.
I always get excited around this time of year. It makes me want to do Murph every week for a year again. But I try to like curtail that excitement and be like, hey, no, it's all right. Like, you don't need to do Murph every week for a year again. But I just love the workout. If we asked the question, if you could only do one workout for the rest of your life, what would it be? My selection would be Murph. If I could only do one workout for the rest of my life, it would be this one. It is my favorite workout. I think it's really well-rounded and has the ability to, like most things, but you can go down like the zone 2 version. You can just challenge yourself in so many different ways, like the partitioning strict, or doing all the pull-ups before you go to the next. Like there's just so many ways to make this workout challenging. It's a lot of fun. So do we want to get into any tips? Couple quick tips for the workout?
I'd say learn how to breathe. We've talked about it, especially with Joe talking about his vest and things like that, especially if you're going to be wearing a vest during Murph, which again, you don't have to, just to be clear, but the prescribed version of it is with a vest. And so especially if you're going to be wearing a vest during the workout, definitely learn how to breathe with that vest on, because the vest is going to constrict you a little bit. And there are other ways to do it as well. Maybe you wear the vest while you run, and you take it off for the calisthenics, put it back on when you run again, things like that. But there are ways to learn how to breathe properly. And so if you're going to wear the vest, make sure that you're still breathing, because not breathing is a good way to not be alive anymore. So that's what I would say. Learn how to breathe.
That's actually something that I've been playing with recently, is breathing. And a lot of times with doing reps of any sort of either calisthenics or strength or anything like that, I've always learned to breathe like with each rep. Like on push-ups, I inhale on the way down and I exhale on the way up. And it's just, I do that the entire time. But when you're horizontal, I mean, your heart rate's not going to spike as much. When it does in Murph, it's on the air squats. So for the longest time doing the air squats, I would keep with that breathing, but I think it was really jacking
Like
my heart rate up.
Hyperventilating.
Yeah,
Mhm.
basically, because you're going so fast.
Yeah.
And recently, because of the burner, because like air squats were getting to be like, I wasn't really fatiguing in the legs because of the air squat volume that we've been doing. I was keeping up going fast. I was like, man, I'm just going to start hyperventilating. I need to figure this out. So I have been having to really make a conscious effort to not time my breathing with my reps, to just focus on my breathing on my own, and almost do like one breath per 2 or 3 reps. And that's really helped with heart rate. So that's something else to keep in mind, especially if you're going fast on the air squats, which you should be doing, and something to play around with, because it can definitely make a big difference.
So we have a lot of tips and tricks and all that stuff posted on the YouTube channel, blog posts, everything else. I've said a lot about Murph over the years, so I will kind of end this one out with challenge, which is also kind of tips. The first one is do the squats fast, do the squats unbroken. That's what I challenge people to do every time, because if most of the time you're going slow on squats just because you're being a baby, it has nothing to do with like fatigue or anything. You're just actually not paying attention. So there, I won't even offend you. Maybe you're not being a baby. Maybe you're not paying attention. You're just not actually focusing on going a little bit faster with those squats. So that's my tip/challenge for that one. The second challenge And I think I'm going to be talking primarily to the Murph crew here. Anyone who's been doing Murph 52 times a year, really anyone who's doing Murph in general, but specifically the Murph crew. I know you guys have done a lot of Murph over the last year. But this one needs to be fast. Okay. I get the whole training Murph thing. This is not training anymore. If there was a one time per year deal where we try hard on Murph, it's the Memorial Day Murph. And so don't train for a year and then end out on a zone 2 Murph. All right. Like what a silly way to end this year challenge. Go hard. PR. If you don't set a PR on your last one, it better be because you already had a really damn good PR to start. So my official challenge specifically to the Murph crew, go fast, make it hurt, and set a PR. Everyone else who doesn't do Murph every single week, push yourself. There's a reason that we do this hero workout. It's not because it's a really well-rounded workout like I was talking about, or it's fun. It's in memory of someone who lost their life on the battlefield. Okay, that's why I think the workout should hurt a little bit, just to give you an ounce of what that day may have been like for Murph. And I'm talking about an ounce of several tons worth of weight. I think that you can handle it. So that's my challenge to everyone doing Murph on Memorial Day. And good luck. Still be safe in that adventure. So you can always be safe when still hitting a PR. But that's it. That's all we got for this week on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you are not one of our athletes, go to garagegymathlete.com. Sign up for a 14-day free trial. You can also sign up for the Murph Burner Track Murph program. So long as it's still the month of May. If you're listening to this and it's June, it will be gone. It will be vanished. We will have burned it. Hence the name. It will be gone. You will no longer be able to get it. So if you're been thinking about it, this is not something that will be available later to you. It is a once per year thing. Maybe next year, maybe not. So this might be the last time you ever see it. So go to garagegymathlete.com and get that Murph track if you're interested. For everyone in the community, thank you so much for being a part of the community, being awesome. Any members of our community thinking about doing Murph every week for a year, you've been thinking about it, do it. It's a very awesome challenge. It will teach you a lot about yourself and teach you a lot about how you operate in fitness. So go for it. But that's it. That's all I got for this week.
Thanks for listening to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.